In today's episode, are you demonstrating your values or are you giving them lip service? Some of you may say, absolutely, I'm true to my values every single day. Others of you might say, yep, sometimes I find myself letting go a little bit of my values in order to get by. Today, we're going to talk about how we get trapped into that, giving away our values a little bit at a time, what we can do to check in on ourselves and to make sure we remain aligned, happy, healthy, and performing at our best. Do you ever hear yourself saying, family matters, health matters, finances matter? Then look at how often it's been that we've got up in the morning, looked at our gym shoes and decided, I'm too tired to go to the gym. There are so many examples day to day of where we have values, we know about them, we feel them, but sometimes we just slip outside of them. And when we do, the body keeps the score. Eventually, over time, the piper comes home to be paid, and we find ourselves in disconnect with our own values. When that happens, we feel it in our body. We feel it in our health, in our fatigue levels, in our concentration. All of the things that the body's trying to tell us are linked to the choices that we make. Just because you can articulate a value doesn't actually mean it's yours. Perhaps our parents had a view that money doesn't grow on trees and therefore there's scarcity, and you believe that finances are important because of that scarcity. In reality, there's a lot of money in the world. Is that your actual value or is it an adopted value? So we're going to look at some of those things today to help you decide if you're living in alignment with your truth and what you can do to get back there to live a happy, healthy, vibrant life. So I wanted to share a story with you today about a leader, a senior leader I was coaching recently. Now, he was the classic, hardworking, first in, last out type of guy. He had spent his whole career pushing harder than everyone else and had been promoted accordingly. One of the things that came up during coaching for him was that there was a significant imbalance between the various areas of his life. And he really started to notice that there was a really heavy bias towards his career. So he had a really strong value set that said family is of utmost importance to me, but when it came down to his actions, he was in disconnect. I would wander by his office at 6 o'clock at night and say, what time did you start today? And he'd look up, red eyes, tired, cup of coffee in hand, and say, about 5 a.m. So he's at the 13th hour. He's exhausted. He's inefficient. But he's there because he thinks he has to be. First and foremost, it was his perception. Secondly, he had 2 young boys at home. And I asked them how they were going. And he said they're starting to struggle at school. And his wife's starting to have a really tough time trying to sort of keep things moving. And I asked him, what do you think could help in that situation? He said, I probably need to be around them a little bit more right now. You know that you need to be home a little bit more for your boys. And you say that your values are family and that comes first. But how many years has it been since you've actually done that? He looked up from his computer screen, stared me straight in the eyes and burst into tears. He realised at that moment that even though it was a heartfelt value, he hadn't been living it. And he felt immense guilt. But his whole career had been in a bit of a tough industry. So for him, he felt that because the role was like that, his own values couldn't be applied. He had to adopt the perceived values of the business. So once he had that chance to let that crystallise, and it's okay to live your values, and it's okay to structure your time so that you can do both, he then made a decision that he was promising himself to deliver on. And that was, I'm going home at 4. And I'm going to be there when the boys expect me to be there. And I'm going to go outside and I'm going to kick the footy with them. So by living his own value, I'm actually saying my family matters to me. And then taking action to demonstrate that, he solved a whole raft of problems for himself in his workplace, in his home, and in his boys' school. I'd like to touch on a couple of things that come up for us when we're out of alignment with our values. Now, we may not be aware to the degree that the leader that I just described was, but our body knows. If we think about something we're doing, thinking of, saying, or not doing, and we know our values, we're able to feel into that. Now, if we are living values that aren't ours, for instance, we're taking on board the values of an organisation we work for, which are in disconnect, if not in opposition to our own, how are we going to see that manifest in our day? Firstly, the physical side. We'll have headaches, fatigue, exhaustion, not be able to feel rested after sleep. The mind will run. There'll be so many factors that the body's kind of trying to process that disconnect and will keep the system running longer than it should. So it can't be rested, it can't be healed. And often you find people start to get small illnesses, colds, flus, and many other things start to play up with it. Your body knows when you're out of alignment with your values, well before your brain does. From an emotional standpoint, you'll see anxiety, fear, the feeling that I'm just not feeling like myself. I'm a little bit edgy, I'm a little bit anxious, I'm a little bit intolerant. From a relational point of view, we could start to see ourselves distance ourselves from others, the organisation, our family, our friends. Wherever that values disconnect is, we start to create a bit of space between us and it naturally. We sometimes also fall into the opposite of that, which is to move into conflict. Now, if we're in conflict, we're trying to prove to someone else that their values are wrong and ours are right. And as we know, trying to change another person is never going to work. We have to work on ourselves. So the question is, where are our values in disconnect with those around us, and what can we do to make a decision about that? The other aspect to the relational side is that you can feel like you're performing rather than living. You're existing rather than thriving. You're just getting by rather than growing. Now, the big one for a lot of my clients, of course, being in a leadership role, is that the disconnect can occur with the organisation they work with. And what many of them say is that they align to some of the values of the organisation, but not others. Now, when they say values of the organisation, we of course have the written values that most businesses will happily display and share with new recruits. But there's also the unwritten cultural values that exist within an organisation. They're the things that people do to get by. They're the things that are sort of unspoken and expected of each other. The other side of a disconnect with organisational values is that something has to give. Eventually, something or someone goes. We either choose to tune down our efforts significantly and just go through the motions each day as an underperformer, or we choose to get up and leave. As is always the case with any of our topics in Dichotomy, I'd like to give you some exercises that you can try out for yourself to see how you're travelling with your own values alignment. So these are questions either for a journal, pen and paper, old school, or on a computer or your phone, tablet, or if you're up for the challenge, you can do these activities in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself. Your eyes never lie. You'll find out exactly what you're looking for in these questions. So, number 1, what are my actual core values? You can think about what it should be, or you can think about what it actually is. What are my values? Not what I think they should be, or what my family wants them to be, or my friends, or my partner. If you want to work out what they are, I've created a really quick, easy quiz for you. No requirement for an email or password or anything like that. It's simply a free quiz for you to help you out in this way. Or you can ask yourself, where do I spend the majority of my time, money, and energy? You can also look at what makes you angry. Because when we're angry, it's because something's been crossed. One of our values have been challenged or dismissed or belittled in some way. Something that's important to us, we will hold dear to and we will fight for. On the flip side, something that absolutely lights us up, something that makes us feel proud, happy, joyous, they are also values. Because when we meet them, we feel that sense of elation attached to being in alignment with them. Number 2, where's the gap between what I say my values are and what I do? Do I say family matters, but work a 75-hour week? Do I say health matters, but run myself into the ground and never use my gym membership? Do I say creativity matters, but I can't remember the last time I picked up a pen to draw something or a paintbrush to start a painting? Here's the truth. You can note all your values. You can write them down. You can talk about them. You can even write them up, put them on a poster on the wall in the office and be proud of them. But if you're not demonstrating them through your actions, then they're really little more than token gestures or lip service. So this week, the invitation to you is, I'd like you to think about picking just one of your values, and make one choice that demonstrates it to yourself. It might be, I value fitness. Okay, what choice are you going to make to demonstrate to yourself that fitness matters to you, that you're going to honour it within yourself? Are you going to put your runners on and go for a run? Are you going to go to the gym and lift some weights? Are you going to get the goggles out and go do some laps in the pool? What are you going to do for you to demonstrate your values to yourself? If this landed for you, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about which value you're focusing on this week and which way you're honouring yourself and your alignment toward your health, happiness and vitality. Thanks for being here. I'm Di, and I look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of Dichotomy. Take care. Now remember, to make this all easier for you, there's a free online quiz that doesn't ask you for any personal data, doesn't require you to sign up for anything or take anything from you. All it does is give you a web page to do your quick quiz, 5 minutes, and then it will give you a downloadable PDF that you can keep, have a look at, and work on in your own time.